everyone. Welcome to Revival Town Podcast. I'm Chuck Tate. That's Andy King.
How you doing, Chuck?
I'm doing great, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Good.
Good.
Yeah. I had a... What? Oh, sorry. What were you going to say?
Spring's in the air.
What was that?
Man, spring is here.
I know. And we are doing something a bit different.
Yeah.
We've done it the last few weeks. People are going to be able to see everything that we're doing in a podcast.
That's right.
So if you're listening to this audially, is that a word?
Audioly. If you're listening to this audio recording of the podcast, we want you to know you can watch it as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can.
You can tell them how?
Yeah. RevivalTownPodcast.com.
And every Wednesday, we're going to
release the video.
Release this.
So, yeah, we release the podcast, the audio version of the podcast every Monday like we always have.
Yep.
But now we are releasing video just via the website. Obviously, the audio is available on all podcast platforms, including Edify. Thank you, Edify. But it's now available to watch. You can watch the fun that we have.
Yeah, and a lot of people are asking, why are you doing this? Well, one, there's a lot of people that are constantly telling us, oh, we'd listen to your podcast if we could see you guys.
Yeah.
Because we get up to a lot of stuff. And so that's why we're doing it. But we're also carrying on with the audio version because a lot of people like that in their cars. And we don't want to make anyone crash or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm somebody who I'd rather listen to a podcast than watch it because I like to listen when I'm running, when I'm driving, when I'm doing laundry, you know, when I'm climbing a mountain. No, but obviously, I mean, there are times though I'm like, ooh, I would like to see that. I would like to be there for that moment. So anyway, yeah, we have now made that available for those that want it.
I just feel bad for all the interviews we've done.
Yeah.
So if you want to see any of the other Zoom ones, we have got a whole bank of every interview.
Yeah.
Apart from the few that came in to the studio. But hey, I got to tell you this story.
Yeah.
Right. So, as you know, I'm not originally from around these parts.
What?
And so,
are you from Mexico?
Oh man. So I have got this new app called BritBox.
Yeah.
BritBox is like BBC and ITV TV shows.
I thought it was a boxing video game on Xbox. The BritBox. I can put your face. I could create a avatar with your face on it. BritBox. Hey, mate, I'm fighting you. Sorry.
Oh man.
So BritBox, you can watch all the TV shows.
All TV shows. Like
UK.
we've got. There's a show on there called Death in Paradise, and it's a comedy of an English guy who goes and solves murders in the Bahamas, Caribbean area, right?
Okay,
So we get to watch all that. So anyway, on this BritBox, we've just got it.
Yeah.
Every morning you can watch Good Morning Britain. Okay, so that is like watching Good Morning America, the Today Show. It's the British version of that. So
yeah.
I thought, I'm going to check this out. So I click it on, and they said all of a sudden they were talking about a news report, and they said, we're going to go to Jonathan Swain, who's at the Westminster, which is Parliament area. And I froze. Because when I was a kid, my best friend in school was a guy called Jonathan Swain.
Uh-oh.
So on this guy comes, you know, and he lost a little bit of hair, right? But I'm like, that looks like the Jonathan Swain.
That was like your friend.
Best friend. Like, he was the goalkeeper for the soccer team that we played for, not just for our school, but for the town. We played for the town. And
because you were quite the soccer player.
Well, yeah, I guess I was pretty good. Yeah. But I was the striker. I was the main guy that would get the goals, and he was the goalie. So we would practice on one another, literally every night of the week and weekends, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So I jump online and I'm typing in Jonathan Swain, Good Morning Britain, and his Wikipedia came up. and it said born in Nuneaton, which is where I was from.
Wow.
Age 48.
So were you freaking out?
I was freaking out.
Yeah. I remember you texted me like, hey.
Oh, man. So come to find out, this guy is the chief correspondent for ITV. So if there's anything major, this is the guy who's on the front lines. He's been in Ukraine the last few weeks. He's interviewed the Prime Minister of Great Britain. I mean, like, legit guy, right? So along the bottom, it's got his Twitter handle, right?
Yeah.
So I jump on Twitter. There's no way to message him. You know, he hasn't got anything opened. But then it has his Instagram handle. Click on that. His messages are open.
All right.
Shoot a message to him 24 hours later. Hey, mate, this is crazy.
Wow.
And we
What's up, striker?
20 years he's been on national TV over there.
Amazing.
Worked for BBC. He's now with ITV, which is another huge network like a CBS. And we reconnected, and and so I text my cousin Vicky. She is watching. I texted her and said, "Hey, do you know this Jonathan Swain?" And she sent me a picture. She was watching him when I texted him. How crazy is that?
You can't make that up.
No. And so,
wow.
It was fun. It was fun.
That's really cool.
And this guy,
great story.
You talk about globetrotting. I mean, this guy has gone everywhere, done everything. And today...
we have a globetrotter.
We do. And I thought this would be a great interview for us to hear, conversation.
And to see...
And
for those who are watching. Hey.
You want to tell us a bit about Jada?
Well, Jada's a friend of yours, and she works for Midwest Food Bank.
Yeah.
Right, but she loved to travel, and one of the places that she and her husband went to was Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania.
Yeah.
Where they summited it. I mean, they went to the top.
Top.
So you said, Chuck, we gotta have my friend Jada on. This is going to be a great story. I know it'll intrigue our listeners. And I tell you what, I was intrigued. If you are watching, I was at times drifting because I was on her social media looking at the pictures. I'm like,
don't worry. We saw you drifting.
Yeah. Like, I've got to, yeah. So I love the story. So I think people are going to really enjoy this. This is cool. This is now on my bucket list.
Yeah. Right. Right. What bucket list? Well, why don't you sit back and relax and enjoy this conversation with Jada Hoerr.
This podcast is part of the Edify Podcast Network. Edify is a faith-inspiring app that brings together thousands of the best Christian podcasts in one place for your listening enjoyment. Cut through the noise and grow your faith by diving into the world's top Christian podcasts today. Download the Edify app for free from the App Store or Google Play, or by going to edify.app. That's edifi.app.
All right, everyone, it's time for another conversation on Revival Town Podcast. Our guest today, Jada Hoerr, serves as the Chief Resource Officer at Midwest Food Bank. This role engages her desire to alleviate hunger and malnutrition in the U.S. and abroad. Jada loves to travel internationally and recently summited Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, the highest point in Africa. We're going to ask her all about it right now. Jada, welcome to Revival Town.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much for coming in and just
in the studio.
In the studio.
As people can see, we are in the studio. We haven't had many people in the studio, Chuck, and so some people right now are seeing how this thing works,
yes,
or how it doesn't work. But Jada has been a longtime friend of mine. You mentioned Jada works for the Midwest Food Bank, which is a huge organization, not just in Peoria, but nationwide. And in fact, have they done anything globally as well?
Yeah, we have operations in Haiti and East Africa out of Kenya.
Okay, see, so this is, Midwest. It was birthed out of the Midwest, but then is all over the globe. The Dream Center is very thankful for Midwest Food Bank. Obviously, we have a homeless shelter and our after-school programs. and we wouldn't be able to do what we do feeding wise without Midwest Food Bank and everything that they help us with there. So it is great though to have you here. We are talking about Midwest, but that's not the focus today. But
well, speaking of Midwest, one of our pastors on our staff, our First Impressions pastor, his wife is an executive director with Midwest.
Yeah,
so.
She's a coworker of mine and just does an excellent job for our facility out of Normal, Illinois.
Awesome. So cool. And I know that there's been a handful of people from the church that have gone and volunteered at times as well. So,
yes.
So cool to have you right here.
Yes.
Now, today, though, we are going to talk nothing about Midwest. I mean, we've talked about it, right? But we wanted to get you in. You did a post on Instagram all about this little trip you did.
A little trip.
A little life-changing trip.
Going up Kilimanjaro.
Yes.
And so when I called Chuck and I said, hey, this is different than what we've done with normal podcasts, right? It's guys that have written books, it's musicians, it's singers, it's, all different. But it really intrigued me because for me, I love hearing stories about this type of thing. I'm a big Bear Grylls fan. Okay, so Bear Grylls is a guy from the UK who, at the time, I think he was the youngest person to ever go up Everest.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
And his autobiography is like in my top 3 books I've ever
I'm gonna have to read
ever
it.
read.
Yeah.
Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Blood, Sweat, and Tears? That's it. Yeah. Mud, Sweat, and Tears. And just that whole thing of someone putting stuff aside, training, and then conquering something so huge. So I got on the phone to Chuck and I said, Chuck, I would really like to have Jada on just to talk through this, because it wasn't for you just a trip up Kilimanjaro. There was a spiritual thing that happened as well that we want to dig into as well today. But first, why don't you just tell us a bit about Jada?
Yeah.
And then how this all came about.
Sure. So you said, as you already said, my name is Jada Hoerr, and I'm the Chief Resource Officer at Midwest Food Bank, but that's just a part of who I am. A little bit more is that I love the outdoors, so that's obviously a good linkage to the trip to Mount Kilimanjaro. I love adventure, I love people, and I love learning. So I think those will be some themes that come through the conversation, the storytelling today. Yeah. I'm married. I've been married for 11 years, and I'm a stepmom to 4 adult children.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And so this trip was with my husband.
Right.
So he also loves the outdoors, and so that's something that we share in common. A lot of the time on the weekend, you can find us out hiking or biking, just out walking. So this was just a great way for us to vacation and be together.
Yeah. Now, I'm hoping he liked walking before this.
Yes.
Walking, climbing.
Yes. Yes.
So take us back then, that decision to do something like this. Where did this all come out?
Yeah. So it was an 8-year journey.
Wow.
Yeah. So in 2013, my husband Jeff and we traveled to Tanzania for the first time. And we are Compassion International sponsors. So we have sponsored children, and one of them is in Tanzania. So we got to meet the young man. He was 14 at the time. Now he's aged out of the program, but so his name is Amiri. So we went with Amiri, and that was great. And in our interactions with Compassion, they said, hey, if you're going to be in country, we'd like you to meet a few other people. So we met the country director. So Compassion has country directors in every country that they serve. And so we met the country director, and he brought along with him a young man, Solomon, who was in college at the time. And Solomon was just delightful, and we really had a good chance to connect with him. We exchanged information, contact information, and we stayed in touch. Solomon's, one of his jobs that he worked while he was going through college was to be a guide for Mount Kilimanjaro.
Wow.
So in 2013, just the idea was kind of birthed. Like,
The
the seed was planted, like, so until then, I don't think that we would have even on the map known where Mount Kilimanjaro was.
Right.
My husband's smart, so maybe he would have known. But and so speaking with Solomon, I was like, oh, well, what is that about? Like, well, tell us more about that. How do you do it? And we were just impressed by the stories that he was telling and kind of inspired. So, as I mentioned, we love people and it's about relationships for us. And so we stayed in touch with Solomon. And so we were able to maintain that relationship, and we'd seen him multiple times since then. So stayed in touch, and then we'd been back to Tanzania for various reasons. We afterwards got another compassion child from Tanzania, so we visited her. And so the Compassion International was definitely a theme through this interaction. And so then 2 years ago in 2020, right before the start of the pandemic, my husband had a chance to go on a working mission in Tanzania. And so they had mostly work and then a few days of fun and relaxation. And so they did a mini hike.
Yeah.
They did a mini hike. They just kind of went one day up and 1 day back. So they did a 2-day hike on Mount Kilimanjaro. So they didn't summit. And so they're kind of like, hey, this is great. And he went with Solomon and Solomon's cousin, who is also a guide. And so we start to get to know more of the family and connections. And so it was like, okay, we're going to go back and do this.
Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so cool.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
So,
And this episode is brought to you by Compassion International.
oh man. So, okay. So you're now at that point where, okay, we're going to give this a go.
We're going to give this a go. So to be honest, well, my husband had a milestone birthday in December. And so we said, hey, let's travel in January. He had some time off in January and I could take some vacation. We said, let's go. And we were thinking to take a big trip, but also balancing the challenges of COVID and wanting to do that safely and where could we go. So we had a couple options. And one day out of the blue, I was just like, what do you think about actually going to do this trip to hike Mount Kilimanjaro? Can we do it? Let's see. And so within a month, we kind of like from the month of when we bought, it was a month between when we bought the tickets and when we were on the plane heading over.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So
we went for it.
So we just went for it. So there's a lot of things that was great about that, and a lot of things I would not recommend about that. But so we can talk about that. But
So what year was this last year? Right?
just so like December of 2021.
2021.
And then like the 15th, 16th, and we left and departed on January 18th.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, literally weeks ago.
Yes. And so obviously like we can all understand that just really trying to be wise and discerning about, was it safe to travel and what were the requirements to travel? And so that just kind of put us on the edge. And then finally we just had the courage to book the tickets and go for it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Were you nervous?
I was nervous and a little bit of just not knowing what to expect. And so that makes you nervous, but it also kind of gives you a freedom because you don't know what you don't know. And it's one of those things that sure, we wanted to summit and we wanted to make it to the top, but it was also a large part about the people that we were hiking with.
yeah. How many go in a group? Because there's quite a group.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So for Jeff and I, and then we had Solomon's wife. So I've already introduced Solomon in the conversation. So his wife, Zuena, hiked with us. Wow, cool. So there were 3 of us that were hiking. So 2 Americans, and then she's Tanzanian. So that was also fun to have a local hiking with us. And then there were 8 in the team to take us. So we fly to Tanzania. So you fly through Amsterdam. Then we got to Tanzania. It's like midnight when we land. Max, our guide and our friend, pick us up. And I was like, okay, so exactly how many are going to go? And he's like, well, there's going to be 2 of us that are guides. Okay, so I'm thinking 2 people, great. And he's like, well, and then 6 others. I'm like, oh my, 6 others. What do these 6 others do? He's like, well, one's a waiter. And I'm like chuckling, like, oh, waiter, right? Like, and one's a chef. So we had a waiter and chef. You have a tent master.
Wow.
You have a gear master. So everyone has a very, very defined role and that they're trained in that specific role. So there were 8 total to support the 3 of us hiking.
Wow. So,
Yeah.
So you mentioned December was when you. Okay, so that's for me and Chuck. We could not just decide in December to go to Kilimanjaro in January.
Yeah.
When, like 3 years from now, we'd probably be in shape, ready to go. But what was there any training for you guys?
Yeah. So like, I also recognize that I have an incredible sense of privilege that I have the ability to do that, right? Not only finances, but also just the health and the well-being that we can just say, hey, let's just go on a whim, let's go do this. So we're very thankful. And as I mentioned, Jeff and I like the outdoors, and so we're hiking a lot. So that's great. But what we did not train for, and would not be advisable. I would advise that you train for this is that we were not prepared for the altitude. Mm. And to be honest, and we're here in Central Illinois. I'm not sure what the best approach is. Maybe a trip and like intentional travel to Denver. I don't know.
Sure.
But
There's a hill at Tanner's Orchard.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So the altitude was the real challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So breathing and
Yeah. So like on the second night, our guide, he whipped out the blood pressure cuff. And I was like, oh my. Oh. And they would check our blood pressure. They would check our oxygen level. They would check our pulse. And so they were capturing our biometrics to make sure that it was safe because of the altitude. They wanted to make sure that no one was at risk of getting sick.
Yeah.
So altitude sickness is the common deterrent to making it to the top.
So I have a question. So is Solomon not a local then?
No, he is Tanzanian.
He's Tanzanian, and his wife is as well. Okay.
His wife is as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not uncommon, but it's definitely not typical to have the Tanzanians hike for leisure. It's more of them are, the Tanzanians are the guides and they're doing it for employment.
Sure.
And so it wasn't lost on me nor Zuena, Solomon's wife, that she had the opportunity to go.
That's great.
That makes it special.
Yeah.
Wow. So, so you fly there.
We fly there
with not too much training. I mean, you've done right because you do a lot of walking and stuff.
Yes, like we enjoy hiking here locally, but nothing to, and we enjoy backpacking also, like 2-3 day trips. So we've done some of that, but nothing. This was 6 days, 5 nights.
Okay, so this is a question.
How high is Mount Kilimanjaro?
19,300 feet.
Wow, it's higher than I even thought.
Yeah.
Okay, this is for Chuck. Chuck, for those listening, and this may be the first time you're listening, we do a spot at the end of every show called Tate and His Mate. A few weeks back, I threw a word at you, rambling. Remember this?
Rambling.
When you go rambling, which is walking.
Okay.
And in England,
yes.
In England, there are rambling clubs that you would meet at a certain location and you all walk somewhere, right? It's a rambling club.
Yes.
So today we've got a real rambler.
So a real rambler. We're not talking about just rambling. We're talking about rambling 19,000 feet up. All right?
That's okay. So I'm really intrigued with all this.
Yes.
Okay. So you land. There's obviously jet lag involved as well, right?
Yes. Yeah, of course. And so fortunately we landed at night so we could come in, go straight to bed. And we had a day, but we didn't start hiking the next day. We had a rest day. And so our guide, Max, he came over to our hotel and was just kind of explaining what to expect and how to prepare for the next day. And he said, here's the packing list. Do you have everything? We're like, yep, we brought everything. We exactly to the list. We have exactly that. Okay. And so I was just like, check, done, like gears checked out. We've got everything. And he's like, no, I want to see. And I was like, well, my room's kind of messy. We got in at midnight. He's like, no, take me up to your room. And I was like, is this lost in translation? Like, is this normal?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how I feel about you going into my, okay, let's go. Which is funny now because in the days that would follow, I would have a lot more embarrassing moments with Max. Sure. But so he came in and he inspected, like he wanted to touch and feel every piece of clothing and everything because it was quite cold at the top. And so he wanted to make sure that we had the appropriate quality of gear. Sure. And it was that moment I realized like, oh,
this is
and we're in his care. Like he's committed to our success. Like he even wants to make sure my wool socks are appropriate to make it to the top. So,
wow.
Yeah. So it was.
Did you do it, Chuck?
Yeah, I'm ready to go on this trip.
I want to see that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm ready to hear about.
Oh yeah.
No, I would. I mean, I'm very intrigued by it. I would love to. I've never climbed a mountain, but well, I have smaller ones, but not where you're scaling.
Yes.
To summit.
Yes, and I think something too is like. It's technical, obviously, but it's not technical in the sense that you need ropes or picks or, like anything extreme in that sense and overly technical. And we did have a few moments where they would call it scrambling. So maybe it's like rambling plus, I don't know. So you have to use your hands in some points.
Yeah.
Like actually, kind of use all four, but it was not what you would think of rock climbing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Were you ever connected to each other by ropes or anything like that?
No, no.
Hey, I could do this.
Yeah.
I'm just going back thinking about back in the day. There was in England there was a DJ who did this for charity. Went up Kilimanjaro and he took like a bunch of celebs, UK celebs, and I remember him saying that he thought it was going to be like Everest, with the pits and the ice and the
spiked boots.
Yeah, but he said it was so tough because he's normally sitting behind a desk, doing a microphone thing for a radio station, and he had to go and do this. So so you've got everything, everything's been checked out.
Yeah.
So from landing to when you leave, how many is that days or is it the next day?
So like we landed on a Wednesday, Thursday we were off, and Friday we start hiking.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
then how many days did it take to get to the top?
So we summit on day 5 and we finish on day 6.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So just a little bit like because I was like, well, how is it that it takes so long to go up and so short to come down?
Yeah.
So you go up a different path than what you come down. And the path you go up takes longer because it's not as steep. So the incline is less, and that helps you acclimatize to the altitude.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then on the way down, is it like just a slide?
And it felt that way. It felt that way. And so not to jump ahead too much in the story, but coming down is, I think, muscularly, like it's a bigger challenge. Like if you're like, oh, were your legs sore? Did it hurt? Coming down hurts more than going up.
Wow.
Yeah, because it's the pressure on your knees and it's steeper. And just by nature of like downward momentum and gravity, like you go faster. And so you're just, stepping along at a faster pace. Yeah.
So, a lot of and you mentioned chef and, others, right? Was climbing this, there was like places that you had to get to by the end of day?
Yes, yeah. There are defined camps that we would stay at. I think one thing that I was pleasantly impressed and surprised was the infrastructure and the quality of the park. Like Tanzania has done an excellent job having rules and regulations for safety for the people that are hiking, and just infrastructure. It's not comfortable. I don't want to say that it's comfortable, but like health and safety is like, they're definitely concerned about the health and safety of the hikers.
Priority.
It's a priority, right? So they've done a great job. Doesn't just feel like the Wild West, like you're not just.
Yeah, right.
And so there are defined camps, and so there are rangers that stay at those camps. Excellent. And so if you think about that, that's a whole, 2 days
That gives you some peace of mind.
It gives you some peace of mind. And while I didn't have connectivity, and I was thankful for that, our guides and the locals could connect their phones. And so like if there were a problem, or even back here at home, we're living in this hyper connected world. So there was some kind of peace of mind that even if I wasn't connected, my guide was. And so I knew, he could communicate on our behalf.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Are you ready to go, man? I'm ready to go.
No, Chuck, I'm not ready. Oh man. So we go, you get started now. There's these camps.
Yep.
Each day, is it getting harder every day?
Yeah. So before we even take off, let me just say too, like we get to the gate where we're starting. And so there's enough food for all, 8 plus 3, so 11 of us for these 6 days. And so our guides are packing up our tents, they're packing up our gear, they're packing up the food. And so each of us have like our own belongings. So the guides carry my belongings. I had like a little day pack with some water and some granola bars, but I wasn't carrying my clothes for the whole time. So they're carrying my weight. And so they were limited. They could carry 20 kilograms. So was that 40-ish pounds, like a little more, plus all of their weight, all of their own gear.
Wow.
So they had extra packs. So it's like they had you think of a backpacker, and then they had another pack on top of that. So they were kind of double loaded. And so that we would get to the camp, and they would hike faster than us. So the porters were really the heroes. And so they're, just navigating with great agility up the mountain. And so they would have the camp ready. So we would get there. The tent was set up, our sleeping bag was rolled out, and we're ready to have a hot tea.
So how long did you travel each day? I'm sure. I mean, obviously, you had goals to get to the next camp and checkpoints and stuff. But how many hours each day were designated for that?
Yes, and so there's multiple paths up, so it depends on your pace and depends on which path you take.
Okay.
But our route and our pace was probably around 5 hours each day.
Okay.
Yeah. Our guide every morning would say, 3 to 4 hours, and then it was more 5 to 6. But
okay.
we took our time, and it had
out.
Nothing to do with our skill or anything. We just took our time.
Yeah. Enjoy it.
Yeah, we enjoyed it.
Journey.
We enjoyed it.
Enjoy the ramble.
Yes.
Hey, I see what you did there.
There you go.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Okay, so during the actual journey,
Yeah.
they always make fun of me when I say journey.
Journey.
But during the journey,
you had to unpack your pack.
what was some of the what was the challenging part for you going up? What was day 1, 2, or was it like really getting close to
Or was it like the walking?
yeah. Oh, joke.
Each day it got colder, so that's obvious. So like the temperature starts to wear on you, and it sounds silly, but it's just up, So that like it's just you just keep going up.
Wow.
There was like maybe a little bit of topography where you would go down for a few steps, then back up again, but just recognizing like this is going to be 5 days of just going up. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
So that was some weariness there. And the other challenges were part of the fun, right? Like the sleeping in the tent, like it's not incredibly comfortable, but you make the most of it. And so it's just the elements of camping.
Is there any wildlife up there?
Yeah, so like 3 steps into the trek, we saw monkeys, so that was really fun. And I was like, okay, I've done it. Like, all right, like
That's
seen
crazy.
the monkeys, like we can turn around. They're like, no, keep going. And so that was the primary. Like, lots of different birds, but we didn't see any other wildlife, like zebras or giraffes or anything like that. Yeah.
Wow.
No
chuck
safari.
tags.
No safari.
Yeah. Is there? I mean, with the birds and the wildlife up there, obviously, I guess it would be hard because you're trying to do this journey up there, but the beauty of it.
Yeah, and then you go through multiple climates. So we started in a rainforest or in a jungle. And so that was amazing. And then you get into what they call the moorlands, then the subalpine, and then the alpine. So by the time you're at the top, there's not much wildlife at all. Because it's above the tree line and you're above the clouds.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's not wildlife that you can recognize. Obviously, there are plants and organisms, but so it feels like you're getting more desolate as you go up.
And was it really relaxing after when you would get to camp each day just to sit and maybe have a hot tea or coffee or just sitting on?
Yeah, and then that's where really the relationship started because the fun at camp. Our porters are there, and for them, like quite seriously, it's truly just a walk in the park, like literally a walk in the park for them. And so, like they're fresh. They've got our tent set up, and like they're just having a good time, right? They're a group of friends, and they invite us into that friendship. So kind of watching the cook make dinner and kind of hanging out with people, play some cards. Like it was just a good time. And then you also got to connect a bit with some of the other hikers. It's like you kind of meet up at camp. And so you meet some of the other people that are hiking. And that's really a beautiful kind of international conglomeration or meeting of the world, like a bunch of crazies, right? Like,
Sign me up.
It's like, just like who are the crazies from all over, right? That are coming together to hike this mountain and enjoy it.
Well, let's talk a bit about what it was like for you to get to the top, to the summit.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Yes. So the summit day, many groups start at midnight. So they'll go to bed really early and they'll start at midnight so that because it's about 5 hours from the last camp, like what they call the base camp up to the summit. And so you hike through the night with a headlamp so that you can see the sunrise at the top.
Wow.
Yeah. So our guide, Max, is like, we can do that. Or we can start at like 4 or 5 a.m., get a good start on the day, hike a little bit in the dark so you get that experience and just see the sunrise along the way. And we're like, we're going to opt for that. Like, there was no need for us to
put on the headlamps and, oh man, I'm scaling to the summit at midnight.
Yeah. And there's pros and cons to each approach, but we were thankful that we had the chance to do it in the daylight so you could see,
enjoy that.
Yeah, and enjoy that. And I think there is a mindset of like, if you see where you have to go, that it's also a little bit of a mental challenge, but we wanted the sun to help encourage us. So I did not speak very much on the last day. My resting heart rate was over 100 when just standing there, like not moving before we get started. So that's like 40 beats per minute faster than what it would normally be. So I was just tired just standing without doing anything. And so it was just, one step in front of another. And I didn't speak. I didn't speak the entire time because I didn't want to waste any energy. Yeah. And it was just a blessing because our guides, like their goal was that day to get us to the top. And so we went at a very measured pace, very slow. And they would talk to us, they would sing to us, just trying to keep the spirit light and to keep us going. Yeah. And so, one step in front of another. And that, like you talk about, like what is part of the spiritual journey. One of the lessons I learned is just when you have these crazy, audacious goals, you need to surround yourself with a team that believes in it more than you do.
That's brilliant.
Like they were more committed to my success than I was at that moment because I was ready to, if I could let myself think, I was like, how can I sabotage this? Is there some way I can turn around? Yeah. And the way the group was structured, it would just be really difficult, because they didn't want to have to separate, and I couldn't just sit there, and they weren't going to leave me behind. Yeah. And so they made it very clear, we're going to make it up to the top one way or another. Wow. And so I think about the, teamwork is something that we talk a lot. We talk about it in my job, and most locations or corporations, they talk about the power of teamwork. And we as believers know that that's Christ's body, right? Right. But it was never brought so real and so to life to me as in that moment. Wow, everyone in this moment has a role, and my role is just to keep walking. Just keep walking. And
was it mostly fatigue, or was there an element of fear as well? Or is it mainly just...
it was mostly fatigue, and so it wasn't fear, but it was maybe just, if I could even say, a bit of apathy, do I care enough? Do I care enough? Is this goal really mean... what if, is there a way that I could just sit down right here and let the others go? And I don't want to sabotage their joy, but I don't know, is it worth it?
I still had the experience. Yeah. I climbed almost at the top.
Yeah. Is this worth it? And of course it is, right? Of course, when you get to the top and you realize any goal, you always know that it's worth it. But recognizing that in any kind of challenge in life or circumstance, you need people to encourage you along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much to that.
So you get to the top.
Yeah.
What is that like?
It was kind of spontaneous tears, right? I think it wasn't tears of sadness, certainly tears of joy. It wasn't tears of pain, but it was just overwhelming, finally allowing yourself to exhale and recognizing that you could just...
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. And it was a beautiful, beautiful view. It was a bright, sunny day, cold, very windy. But just feeling that coolness on your face, that somehow that made it even more, it made you feel more alive. Yeah. And you see the crater. So the Mount Kilimanjaro is a volcano. And so you can see the crater where the volcano was. And you look over to the other side down the mountain and you see this huge glacier wall. And so I've seen glaciers in books or TVs or magazines, but I don't know that I'd ever seen a glacier that proximate. And so you're even elevated above the glacier. And so being able to see that just glistening in the sun, it was really beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
You ready to go?
You ready to go?
The Revival Town Rumble.
Rumble.
Ramble, not Rumble. Rumble. Yeah, that's a different podcast. So how long did you spend the night on the summit, or did you just go up and immediately turn around?
Yeah, no, so we were up there for about 15, 20 minutes. Okay. What was really beautiful is when we get to the top and we take the pictures, and I look over and I see my guide just on his knees, and I'm like, oh, my first thought was this isn't good. Wait a minute. So that's where the fear came in. How are we getting down? And then I realized, oh my goodness, he's praying. Oh, wow. Praise God, right? Yeah, and so it was also really encouraging to know that we did this trip with the community of believers. And so the language barriers were transcended by a common faith. And so that was wonderful. And so there were 6 of us at the top, and we just got on our knees and in a circle and just, prayed to God and just thanked him for that moment.
Wow.
So that was really special. And I knew that it was going to be a special trip, but I hadn't recognized how important it was that we were going to have a common faith among all 11 of us that were going out.
Well, let's talk. I really want to dig into some of the spiritual lessons for you, because I know when I asked you about coming on the podcast, one of the first things you said was about the spiritual lessons.
Yes. Yeah.
And so can you take us through that a little bit?
Yeah. So one of the first things I learned was just the importance of humility. You can't, well, first, I guess if I'm going to go hiking or biking, I think I enjoy the physicality of the outdoors and always want to take the hardest route, or I want to take the heavy pack, or really push myself to the limits. And so asking for help in athletic endeavors is not something that comes naturally to me. And I realized very quickly on this trip that I was going to have to ask for help. And so there's a humility that comes with that. And so I was like, okay, God, like, it's pretty clear that you're reminding me of this lesson of being able to ask for help. And so that was the one thing. And then just recognizing how often in life I think that I'm in control. I think that I'm the one charting my path. I think that I'm the one that's conquering the challenges. And I realized on this trip, like, God gave me a representation of himself through our guide and our team.
Yeah.
Like, not to say that they are gods, but like, God made it very clear that this is the role that he plays in my life, that he's the one guiding me up the hill. And when I think I know what path I'm on, really it's someone walking ahead of me and someone walking behind me that's helping me along the way. There's this spot on the hike that everyone has to go through, and it's called the kissing stone. So you kiss the stone, and you say that because it's such a narrow cliff. And so you're, kind of walking sideways. You can't walk, you have to walk with your chest facing the rock wall to get past it. And so everyone gets a picture kissing this rock. And so I posted that on social media, and everyone said, oh, wow, this is amazing. Look at you. That's great. But what they didn't realize, and you see me. So everyone's celebrating me walking on this narrow cliff. But what they didn't realize is that my guide has his hand on my back, ensuring that I was safe going by. And so every time I look at that picture, I was like, oh, yeah, like in life, I'm quick to want to be the one celebrated, or I'm quick to want to be the one that's getting the glory, but recognizing that's God that's got me in his hand and is guiding me along the way. And so it was a very physical representation for me of the way that God's leading me in my life. There were also some times that we're hiking. There were times when the path was very clear. You didn't need a guide to know where you're going, and the path was very clear. But there are other times I'm just looking up the mountain and it's barren, and I just know that we have to go up. There's no way that I would know which path to take. Right. And our guide knew. Our guide knew exactly where to go, and without hesitation. And it reminds me that God's leading our paths. And I might look up a mountain and not know where to go, but God's going ahead of me and knows which path I need to take.
And I could preach right there.
Yeah, right. Come on. That's a different kind of ramble.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, yeah, I love that. Obviously, we have to surround ourselves with people that hold up our arms.
Yes.
We're going through life. There's seasons where we have to surround ourselves with people that have our back.
Yes.
Right? So I just love that.
Yeah. Yeah, and these are lessons that we know, right? I know the lesson of humility. I know the lesson of faith that God is leading me, and I know the lesson of teamwork. But sometimes you have to put yourself in different environments to experience those things in a new way.
Was there anything that happened to you spiritually that you weren't expecting to experience?
Yeah. I definitely, a couple of things. Like I mentioned earlier that I was disconnected, so there's value in that. Like just being able to hear from God in a different way. Yeah. And I realized that deep in my soul, like I knew this, but I kind of had forgotten. Deep in my soul, ever since I was a young child, I was always interested in international travel and different cultures and wanting to just see the world like my family had an exchange student on my prompting and, my desire. I went on study abroads when I was in high school and college. I went to work at a company that was international. I worked at Caterpillar for 21 years and even lived internationally. And so that was something just really core to my soul. And coming out of 2 years of a pandemic, so this was my first international travel in 2 years, and just traveling for those 6 days with 8 people from another country, 9 people from another country, it was just oxygen to my lungs. And so that phrase just kept coming to me. It's like being in God's community in a different place is just oxygen for my lungs, those were the words, which is ironic because my lungs were really suffering from lack of oxygen, but he was filling it with another experience.
Yeah. And I guess coming out of COVID and doing this, and with obviously everything that everyone went through, to finally be able to go and do something like this, must have been so rewarding for you, right?
Yes, yeah. And just to have the courage to go, I guess maybe the fear that I had to overcome was just like, can we figure it out? Can we figure out the travel restrictions? Can we get the right gear and can we get on the plane and get through the security? That was almost felt like the first challenge.
Yeah.
Wow. And do it safely, right? It wasn't just about meeting the requirements, but also being safe about it.
Sure.
Yeah. Did you take a journal by any chance, or did you?
Yeah, I took a journal in my phone. Actually, I used my phone. We still had our phone for pictures, and so I would note down the ideas and activities of every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
You keep looking at me like you're ready to go.
I am. I'm intrigued. I love it. I was pulling up your social media as we were talking. I was looking at the picture of you at the top.
Yeah.
We're going to have to post that.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah. And as you're talking about where you're going to go, the first thing that I was like, I've got to tell everyone about my group. And I'm sure a lot of people feel this about their guides because just the hospitality and the care and just the level of customer service that our team had was exceptional. And so I can't speak enough about the guide and the group that we went with and the company that we went with.
Awesome.
Yeah. Something that's kind of fun, on the airplane from Amsterdam to Tanzania, we were with a young man that we were talking with, and he was coming with another group, and he also was going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, and he was going to be escorting on the team that went with Brandon Heath.
Oh, wow.
So I know that Brandon Heath was on this podcast. So I was
so cool.
Brandon Heath, is Brandon Heath on this airplane? I was like, no, Brandon Heath is coming in tomorrow. I was like, Brandon Heath is coming in tomorrow. Okay.
Wow.
So sure enough, on our way down, we saw Brandon Heath heading up. Yeah. So high five with Brandon Heath. And I was like, I was the day after, just moments after we summited and we were coming down, and we saw Brandon Heath. And some friends did you get a picture? I'm like, well, no, I didn't. And I'm not sure that I was picture worthy, for selfie worthy with Brandon Heath at that moment. But that was really fun. And I'm going to steal this quote from him. So it was on his social media. He was hiking with Young Life. And so doing a promotional effort or promotional hike with Young Life, which is a great organization. But he said that it was easy to see God on the mountain. And it was also easy to feel human. To recognize God and to recognize his humanity. And that was very true. That was very true.
Did he have an acoustic guitar strapped to his back?
He did not have an acoustic guitar, but I did notice that he did have a cameraman kind of coming behind him.
Yeah, okay.
I was like, wow, that's an extra effort, right?
Yeah.
Could you imagine the camera company okay, we've got a job for you.
Yeah.
You got to carry this up the mountain.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, what we would love to do, because you learned so many lessons going up there, we would love for you, if you were to pray for people that are listening.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of lessons and stories that you've shared today, that people are there going, I'm struggling with this, or how can I disconnect? Or not everyone's got to go up a Kilimanjaro, but there are ways that people can disconnect and really get closer to God. And so would you pray into that?
Sure. Yeah. Heavenly Father, I just thank you for this moment. I thank you for this technology to connect us with the listeners around the country and across the globe. Lord, I just come before you and thank you for the experience that I had to hike Mount Kilimanjaro safely with great health. Lord, I pray for the people that are listening to this and they don't have the capabilities of health to do such a journey. Lord, may you encourage them, that you have equipped them, that you are present with them, that you have lessons for them as well. Lord, and for the people that are longing to hear your voice, and that they aren't in a way that they can step away from the responsibilities of life or the responsibilities of family or the finances, to step away for 6 days and 5 nights. Lord, your voice is still ever present. Lord, may each and every listener right now just sense your presence in their life, sense you guiding them, that you are going before them and that you are coming behind them and you are beside them. You are their friend, you are their leader, you are their comforter. Lord, we thank you. You are mighty God, 3 in 1, to be with us. Lord, we just praise you and ask for your goodness and your mercy to continue on and on. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Amen. Well, I know Chuck, instead of listening to this interview, was on social media, but he was doing research.
Multitasking, yes.
He was doing research, but
Yes.
as he mentioned, your social media does have a lot of images of you going up and the summit. What is the best way for people to connect with you, just to see that type of stuff?
Sure. I documented the trip through Instagram stories. Okay. So if you find me on Instagram, it's Jada and 1. And so I saved them in order. So there's a Kilimanjaro and a Kilimanjaro 2. So I had
Did you do it twice?
No, like I've learned that for the stories that you can save, like the highlight reels, you can only have 100 images. So I have more than almost 200 images there to go and enjoy. And I've got some captions and kind of day by day showing the different terrains that we go on and the people that we're with. So
I love it.
Yeah, some
well,
videos.
It's a good thing I didn't see the story during our conversation.
Yeah, you might have been like consumed.
I can't wait to go through it all.
Yeah. Definitely like listen with the sound on the summit day, because you can hear the guides singing and there's some folk songs that they're singing, and it's just really beautiful. Yeah.
Well, we obviously, you've listened to the podcast. You mentioned Brandon Heath and a few others. So what we always do at the end of an interview is we ask the big 3.
The big 3.
And we know, just coming in, you're more nervous about this than... So, Chuck, do you want to start with one of the big 3s?
All right. So first question is...
Wait. Do you make these up on the fly?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, yeah.
I should have negotiated.
Yeah,
I should have negotiated to get them in advance.
Yeah, I think they're better spontaneous.
Yeah.
I used to prepare ahead of time, and I write a bunch of down, and now we're just like, you know what? Let's just go for it.
Just swing it.
So, yeah.
So I'll do the same.
Since I'm going first, though, I'm a little nervous. Like, okay, I need to have 2 questions. Then.
Oh, yeah, that's why I asked you.
All right. I see what you did there. So, my question is about the trip.
Yeah.
So each day when you would get to camp, what's the first thing that you would do? Like as soon as you would set up camp, did you take a nap? Did you write on your phone journal what you did that day? Did you you mentioned tea, so you would have a spot of tea?
Yes. So this is what was amazing. Like they would either, depending on the time of day, they would have a meal for us. So we'd have some hot tea right away. They bring us a hot tub of water so we could, wash our face, wash our hands, clean up a little. That was the closest thing we had to a bath.
Yeah.
Have a tea, and then every day, like clockwork, I took a nap. The first thing we slept on air mattresses, like really thin camping air mattresses. So I blow that puppy up, lay it down, make my bed, and I was out for a good nap.
So you had tea. Was coffee available?
And coffee was available as well.
I can go.
Yeah. That was actually one of my biggest concerns. Like is coffee available and in what quantity? I guess so.
Yeah. Oh, man. Okay. Well, my question is a little similar. You were talking about the drinks and stuff, but what was your favorite meal on the mountain?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It was all amazing, but
wait. It was all amazing.
All amazing.
See, now I wasn't expecting that. I thought it was going to be like, oh man, it was rough. But it was good.
Yes. No, it was very good. In all freshly prepared. So like we would have meals, like every meal we'd have like a meat, a potato or rice, and then vegetables. And so like think about like we're having French fries, but not like if we were going to prepare French fries at home, we'd probably get it out of a bag and throw it into some kind of air fryer or something, right? Like they take potatoes, they haul potatoes up the mountain, cut the potatoes, fry them there, and then serve them to us. So we had.
You can go now.
Yeah. Sign me
That's
up.
amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. I thought it was going to be like, I mean, Midwest Food Bank, right? They have those. What do they call them?
Tender Mercies,
Tender Mercies, right?
Mercies, yeah.
Which
like
is
rice and beans. No, like actually, though, in my mind, that's kind of what I was expecting to know. It was really top rate food.
Wow.
Yeah, I had like we'd have eggs every morning for breakfast. So I'm like, who's carrying the eggs up the mountain?
Yeah, you get that job.
Like, I'm really surprised by it.
I can barely carry my eggs from Aldi to home, you know, and like they're not cracking the eggs. And then every meal for dessert, we would have fresh fruit, and it was just, you know, it's a tropical country, and so just the sweetness of the fruit was just amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, so the food was exceptional.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, Chuck, last one.
All right, last question. So we know you love Tanzania. You love to travel internationally. What is your favorite country besides Tanzania that you've been to?
Yeah, I have to give a shout out. Part of my heart will always be in the country of Brazil. I lived in Brazil from 2000 to 2002. And during the pandemic, I felt like God was very clearly telling me, like, you need to start practicing your Portuguese again. And the question would be like, why? When am I going back? What am I like? So I don't know why, and I don't know how I'm going to use it, but I've been able to rekindle a friendship with a language teacher in Brazil. And so once a week I have my language classes.
Really? Can you say something in Portuguese for us?
Claro que sí, eu posso falar em português.
Okay.
No idea. I have enough trouble with English.
Yeah, Portuguese.
What did you
combined
just
with
say?
my hearing aids.
Of course I can say something in Portuguese.
That's what you said? Okay, cool. That's good.
Excellent.
That's good. Well, we
cool.
want to thank you for coming on Revival Town podcast today.
Yeah.
We've had fun. Like I said, all this type of stuff really intrigues me. I haven't got enough nerve to go up a mountain. I think I could do Kilimanjaro, but I'm not throwing it out there that I'm doing it. Unless it was something for the Dream Center, you know, like a walk.
There you go. There you go.
Hey,
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You keep looking at me and pointing at me like you're wanting to do it.
We're going. We're doing this. Yeah, it's on my bucket list now.
Yeah.
But Jada, thank you so much for coming on Revival Town.
No, thank you for your interest and curiosity to talk about it. It's been a great delight and a joy.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, that was fun.
Oh, man.
Man, thank you, Jada.
What do you think?
I'm going to her Instagram story. I'm going to look at every single picture. You're making fun of me, man. I want to do this.
You know, we were just talking about this, right? Off air. So, you're serious? You want to go up Kilimanjaro?
Yeah. So Mount Kilimanjaro is 19,000 feet. So the highest peak in Colorado is 14,000 something feet.
Jeez.
Now the highest peak in the United States is Denali in Alaska, which is only 20,320 feet. So Mount Kilimanjaro is right there.
Yeah.
It's right there with Mount Denali. So it's not a pushover mountain, and that's without ropes and spikes.
That's what you're into.
That's why I'm in, because man, I'm not tethering myself to a mountain. I'm not sleeping like in a backpack that's anchored to a mountain. I'm not stepping over 1,000-foot ice crevice that I could slip and fall to my death in. But I'll you know, not to say that summiting Mount Kilimanjaro is an easy feat, because obviously you're talking about 6 days and man, walking 5 to 6 hours every day and camping out at that altitude. I mean, I'm obviously it would be a major challenge, but I would be up to it. I'm just saying, I would be up to it.
So you were telling me that Everest is 29,000
feet. That's the highest mountain in the world.
So I mentioned Bear Grylls, who one of my all-time favorite books I've ever written. In fact,
I actually wrote it down as you said that, because I'm going to listen to the Audible.
It is. It's brilliant. He has just bought a new book out that is autobiography. So it's the second part of his life, right? Called Never Give Up. I'm about to start it. I just got it, called Never Give Up. I don't know if you know this. Bear Grylls is a part of the Alpha course. He's the spokesperson globally for the Alpha course.
Really?
Came to Christ.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he's very well connected with Holy Trinity Brompton. In fact, okay, little story here. Remember we had Martin Smith on last year, Chuck?
Who? No, I'm kidding.
See what I have to deal with, everyone? Martin Smith was
he
on.
delirious?
So
yeah, we're gonna have their mountain tour guide on the next episode. The time they went on vacation.
But listen to this. When he was over last time, he was telling us about him being very close friends with Bear Grylls, and how Bear, because of his popularity in the UK, right, he can't go anywhere. Like he's a legit celeb, right? And so Martin Smith, Matt Redman, some of these guys go to his home, and Bear invites 40 or 50 of his friends to their home, and they do church in his homes. He's got like 4 or 5 houses throughout Great Britain.
Wow.
And so Martin was telling me that was a way that he gets to do church without getting mobbed when he goes out in public, especially to a church.
Wow.
Yeah, so
that's really cool.
But here's the crazy thing. He strapped... You all right?
I was going to say the crazy thing is when he got bit by that snake. No, you know about this, right? He almost lost his leg.
When?
When he was the producer for Survivor, and he got bit by a poisonous snake.
Who? Bear Grylls?
Yes. Yep. The fangs went through his boot, and it almost killed him. It was one of the deadliest snake bites in the world. I mean, I don't want to gross you out, but you want to see a picture of it?
Are you sure it's Bear Grylls?
Yep. Because I thought it was, but I thought, with my hearing, I could get things mixed up. But nope, it's him. Look at that.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's
We're not going to show everyone that. But
here's what it says. Bear Grylls, producer. So, it was his producer, not him himself. His producer suffered.
Okay, let me tell you the story about Bear.
All right,
He strapped this. He has this contraption that goes on his back that is like a massive propeller, huge thing, and it's attached to like a parachute, right? Is there a parachute or is it just that? Anyway, they take off, and he ascended Everest and got up to the summit of Everest with this thing on his back.
That's crazy.
You have to look at. I don't know what it's called, but it is the craziest.
I know what it's
thing.
called. It's called crazy. It's called cray cray. I'm gonna hook up this giant fan to my back, and I got this parachute. I got to tie a few sheets together. I'm gonna go scale Everest, baby.
We'll have to find out what it's called, and but there we go. But that's Bear Grylls for you. But you know what else about Bear Grylls?
It's called a paraglider.
Paraglider.
Yep.
He's from England.
Oh, it's Tate and his mate.
Tate and his mate. All right,
let's do this.
So, okay, here we go. I am sure, but for those who are listening first time, this is where I throw an English word or phrase at Chuck, and he has to try and guess the meaning of it. Okay, there's a lot of words that you don't say in America. And so I'm throwing a word at him every week. So are you ready, Chuck?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
All right. I am sure that when Jada went up the mountain, she had a torch.
She had a torch?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're sure when she went up the mountain, she had a torch?
A torch.
I think this might be the easiest one.
You do?
Flashlight.
Oh, man. Had you heard that before?
Well, I just thought put together because when you're watching a movie, anytime anybody goes into a cave, they light a torch. So I'm thinking a torch, a light. Maybe it means flashlight.
It is flashlight.
Hey!
Flashlight. You got
it. I'm on a roll.
How many is that?
It might be 4 in a row. I could be wrong, but I've been studying this dictionary.
Oh, mate. Well. We have fun doing that, and for those who are watching today for the first time, or maybe listening for the first time, make sure that you are going to our social media sites. And, do you want to put it in front of the camera?
All right.
Okay, hold tight.
There's Bear
hold
Grylls
tight. Hold tight.
on his paraglider.
Go closer.
Scaling.
Oh, wait.
Not scaling, suspending himself above.
Yeah, and he went to... he didn't land. He just went to the height of the summit and then came down.
Okay.
Just for fun.
Just for fun. You know what? We need to get Nick Wallenda on the podcast.
Can you show that again? Because I had the wrong camera up.
Okay.
Can you show... I'm getting used to all this. Okay. There he is, look. Right there. See him? There you go. Okay.
All right.
So yeah, go onto our social media sites. Make sure you are following us at Revival Town Podcast. And tell them how you can do a bit of a review, Chuck.
If you could go to Apple Podcasts, search for Revival Town, and then you have the option of writing out a one-sentence review, like, hey, I love this podcast, or just clicking on a rating. Give us a 5-star rating, unless you feel it's less.
Yeah.
Jerk. But the reviews really help. So if you could take the time, even if you don't listen via Apple Podcasts, maybe you listen on Edify and you have an iPhone, just open your podcast app on your iPhone and take the time to write us a one-sentence review. That will really help us. So thank you for doing that. And of course, check out our website, revivaltownpodcast.com. Now you can watch each episode that we've made available lately, because we've had a great time doing this. And so thank you guys for listening. We do it for you.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to Revival Town Podcast. And we will see you soon next week. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Revival Town Podcast. Make sure you're following us on social media and remember to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. For more information, head on over to revivaltownpodcast.com.